The White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's supposed to be a tradition, right? A night where Washington's biggest names get together. But in 2026, that tradition was completely shattered by gunfire, and it left everyone asking one huge question. In a world with more and more threats, can we even have these kinds of traditions anymore without sacrificing security? Let's break down exactly what went down.
Just try to picture it for a second. You're in a massive ballroom, and you're surrounded by the press, by politicians. Heck, the President of the United States is right there. And then you hear gunshots. That was the terrifying reality on April 25, 2026, and it kicked off a huge debate about just how safe our leaders really are.
So you have to wonder, how on earth does an event with the President of the United States just descend into total chaos? To figure that out, we've got to look at the key details of that night at the Washington Hilton.
Yeah, this was not just some dinner party. We're talking about a packed ballroom, around 2,600 guests. And look who's there. President Trump, the First Lady, Vice President J.D. Vance. When you have that many important people in one room, the security stakes are just astronomical.
And you know, that's probably the most chilling part of this whole thing. There was absolutely no warning. The breach, the gunfire, the response, it was all a blur, just pure chaos that unfolded with unbelievable speed. And when we talk about speed, we really mean it. The entire incident, from the moment the suspect broke through security to the president's evacuation, took less than 30 seconds. So let's walk through that timeline second by second.
Just look at how fast this all happens. It's 8:34 p.m., and a guy just sprints right through a Secret Service checkpoint. Mere seconds later, gunfire erupts. And get this, in just 20 seconds, before most people probably even registered what was happening, the Secret Service had the President and First Lady off that stage and on their way out. It just goes to show you the incredible speed of both the attack and the response.
Okay, so the president is secure. The immediate focus then snaps right to neutralizing the threat and dealing with the absolute chaos inside the Hilton. And in all of that mayhem, there was amazingly only one direct injury to law enforcement. A single Secret Service officer was hit, but thankfully their bulletproof vests did exactly what it was supposed to do. The officer survived. It's just a stark reminder of the incredible risks these agents face every single day.
So who is responsible for all this? Well, the suspect was quickly taken down and identified as Cole Allen, a 31-year-old from Torrance, California. And just look at what he was carrying: a shotgun, a handgun, and knives. I mean, he was heavily armed. While the exact motive is still being investigated, authorities are pretty sure his target was the president.
For doing all this, Allen is facing some extremely serious federal charges. First, assault on a federal officer for shooting that Secret Service agent. And second, using a firearm during a violent crime. We're talking charges that could easily put him in prison for decades.
You know, an incident like this, it doesn't just end with an arrest, not even close. It forces a huge national conversation. Almost immediately, the focus turned to this really fierce debate about security protocols for these kinds of high-profile events.
And President Trump himself weighed in almost instantly. From his perspective, relying on outside places like hotels is a huge mistake. He argued that this breach is all the proof you need for building a dedicated, super secure ballroom right there on the White House grounds for major events like this.
So this really gets to the heart of the debate, right? You've got these two totally different philosophies on security. On one side, you have the way we do things now: use a hotel, bring in temporary security, and try to lock down a public space. On the other side, you have the proposed solution: a permanent, hardened facility that's already on tightly controlled government property. It really pits a long-standing tradition against a call for a fundamentally different kind of security.
And that question really frames the whole conflict here, doesn't it? What's the right balance? Do you stick with the tradition of holding these events in places the public can access, or do you move towards more of a fortress model where security is the absolute #1 priority, even if it means giving up some of that accessibility and tradition? So, ultimately, that brings us to our final question. The gunfire at the Hilton was, without a doubt, a massive wake-up call. And while it's a miracle no one was killed, it definitely exposed a serious vulnerability. The question that everyone in Washington is grappling with now is whether this terrifying near miss is going to be the thing that permanently changes how and where our nation's leaders gather from now on.